Hi, and welcome to the Gems of Rock podcast, where two mates from Blackpool talk all things rock and roll.
See, why can you get it first time? It took me like 7 attempts to do mine. I overthink things. Yeah.
Welcome to my fucking wheelhouse.
So yeah, this podcast is sponsored by dogs. All different kinds of dogs.
Yeah,
all dogs are great.
Yeah, but then we're gonna get things for our dogs. We really want to be like we need to take the Peter K route. We are sponsored by Sony, Microsoft.
Yeah.
We just want that's the joy of sponsorship.
This podcast is sponsored by all vodka, all of the vodka, all brands.
No, I think we need to be true to ourselves. We need to push for that KFC black card. I know some big celebrities that don't get it. So if we could ever,
I know KFC did a black card.
I think
I know Nando's
have done one.
Ed Sheeran did that song about it.
I've seen a couple of YouTubers joke about it or push for one, like KSI and some of the sidemen. But they've got bags of money anyway. I think rock music, to say it's our favourite, I feel like if we said my favourite type's rock.
Yeah, that's it.
You need a bit more than that, don't you?
I quite like eating food. I think food's quite up there for me.
Yeah. Carbs are great. Or be specific. Salty or sweet, but...
Yeah, but it's massive, isn't it? It's such a huge genre that it encompasses so much.
And do you look at it geographically, like what the UK puts out versus the USA? Do you organise it by time period?
Well, I mean, you look at it geographically because you look at everything geographically.
Well, geography is everything. I want to put that in podcast form. I say it to my students. I say it to everyone. Geography is everything. Geo, Earth, graphy. We write about everything. Geography is everything.
That's what I quite like the name of the podcast being Gems of Rock. I quite like because it's like rock music, but it's also a little.
Yeah, it's a bit of a nod to me. It's kind of because you're definitely the more skilled musician. Skilled. I have no music skill.
I mean, skill's a strong word. I can hold a guitar convincingly enough, and I can hold a beat on a drum kit, but that's.
You can pick up multiple instruments and do something, even if it's just
even if it's break it.
Yeah, but even I reckon if we put past a keyboard or a piano, you're gonna play the Rugrats theme tune because that's like one of your party tricks. You're gonna play something else.
It's not a party trick.
Oh come on! The minute someone gotta keep a dun 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 dun, that Rugrats theme tune is something you're gonna play. But you can whereas for me is I like listening to music. I've got a decent knowledge for lyrics. But yeah, I suppose that is the name of it, Gems of Rock. We're both massively into rock. Right, so we'll start with first tracks of albums. So you were saying you remember the first one you bought was American Idiot?
First album I bought was American Idiot by Green Day. And I remember saving pocket money at the time. And my parents taking me to HMV to buy it. And my mum warning me, just like, this isn't a happy album. Because I was a kid, and I was buying it because I'd heard and liked some of the songs, not because I was reading into the political lyrics and all the stuff like that. And it was my mum was going, it isn't happy. There's no happy music. I tried to defend it. I go, Holiday is a happy track. No, it's not.
Feel About a Broken Dream.
Exactly.
It's in the title.
But I remember them sitting down and my mum reading through the lyrics book, and they like Green Day anyway. But her proper sitting down and going it's not a. Just so you know, it's not happy music. It's a bit of change from what you normally. But yeah, I remember that was the first album I bought, and I've got a connection with that album, knowing it was the first one I ever.
Because presumably they exposed you to Dookie or something before that.
That's it. Yeah. So you do with Green Day, and you buy American Idiot, you listen to it. You
backtrack.
Goes back catalogue. Yeah, everyone remembers Basket Case and stuff like that, and then the Dookie album, and everyone's got their own memories of when they used to be big before they came back. But yeah. No, yeah, it's probably my favourite album of all time. I know it's generic, but it's amazing.
I suppose we'll get this out of the way earlier, but it is your party trick, isn't it?
It is my party trick, yeah. And I forgot that when you said earlier, you've got a party trick, and I was like, yeah.
Well, I'm not going to put you on the spot.
No, I can do it, and I claim to can do it, but I'm not going to do it.
For anyone that's ever listened, he's been able to do this drunk, sober, in all sorts of states. He can name the album in order pretty sharpish. He doesn't require any real thinking time.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's weird, and again, it almost feels, I know it's still about as a high street, but it came and went. Mine was HMV as well. Obviously, we joked about earlier, kind of off recording, my first track, I remember getting off something like LimeWire that destroyed the family computer. I absolutely took it to the cleaners, but I think it was some generic pop, or I think it might have been Eminem or something, but the first album, I remember having money, going to buy was HMV. It was a school trip to London, of all things, like year 10, something like that.
Okay,
school trip down to London. And it was like a 2 I remember the first 2 or 3 albums. I can't remember what exactly ordering it, so I'm kind of cheating on my answer here. But it was Indestructible by Disturbed and Meteora.
Oh, mate.
It was like a 2 for 10 quid or something. It was like I remember it was like a deal. You could get multiple CDs. Had like parents give me a bit of money because we went to Covent Garden and we got to shop about a bit. It was like a little bit of freedom you get on these kind of school trips, and both of those I think were really like, and I know we're going to talk about this at some point, my early forays into rock, proper like rock music. Like my dad was into it, exposed a bit about it, but yeah, for me it was definitely Meteora and definitely Indestructible, because I remember just absolutely spamming Inside the Fire, second track off the album. It was just like, I can't picture anything clearer than that. Yeah, it was absolutely brilliant for me, those two albums. They were the albums, like, I think we've spoken about this before and we'll speak about it again, that, when you could burn albums onto your Xbox and store them on your hard drive, so any games I was playing, like the Indestructible album and later the Down with the Sickness album, I went before Indestructible went, oh my god, Disturbed, back on to Down with the Sickness. Both of those were the soundtrack to many Xbox campaigns or one thing or another.
Definitely. Well, I went abroad with my parents, and I had a CD player. And like back when I shouldn't have had a CD player, I think I might have had an iPod and broke it. But so to go away with, I had a CD player, and I remember I went out and bought the Indestructible album before going abroad.
Wow!
So we went to somewhere in Spain, and obviously the weather's gorgeous, and you sat there listening. It's all happy and nice, shiny people, and sunshine, and everyone's dead happy. And I'm sat there with headphones on, listening to Disturbed, just like black T-shirt or something like that. And it's just. Yeah, I remember the Indestructible album was a really good album, but I knew a little bit of Disturbed, and then bought that, and like you, I then, these are pretty good, and then went back and
I hit their back catalogue pretty hard. I think for me, and I think we're going to this now, they are probably one of, if not my favourite artist or band of all time. Just what the power in David Draymond's voice, just what he can like, and for me, being not the most musically gifted, not being the greatest of ear, and be able to understand the composition of instruments, I always need a strong vocalist for artists I like. I need someone with power, someone like almost to a point. Sometimes with diction. Diction's not always the most important. You'll be able to hear them. Sometimes you have those artists and someone goes, do you actually know what they're saying? Like Early Bring Me or something.
That's it, yeah. It's just noise that.
But yeah, for me, just the range, the power in his voice, it was something else. So I remember just spamming Indestructible, Down with the Sickness. I never really listened to Believe all that much, which is weird because I believe it has Liberate on.
Yeah.
I think, and that's got to be one of my favourite songs there. So, it's got Prayer, it's got Believe. I nitpicked at Believe. Obviously, didn't they first release 10,000 Fists? Was that their first record?
That's one of the early ones, isn't it?
There's 10,000 Fists, then Believe, Down with the Sickness, Indestructible. But for me, just what a wonderful artist, like. Yeah, and obviously, like you said, Green Day, one of your favourites. What puts them up there for you?
It's going. I remember watching. It was some kind of Top of the Pops kind of thing for kids, and I remember American Idiot getting into the charts, and I remember the music video for it. And like before, I was just into a lot of generic pop music. I mean, I was quite into Busted, like as a little primary school
Don't
kid.
say that like it's a bad thing. I think you need to own it. I think we all need to get over like trying to cushion our music interests. Busted have got tunes.
I think that'll be cut from the podcast.
Will it?
But or editing on it.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that kind of sort of generic music, pop music that you're into as a little kid.
I think we all are, aren't you? That generic sound, whatever's on the radio, you're in the car with parents, what CDs they've got, and yes, they probably will expose you to their taste. But I'm very much the same. I agree. I think I had a generic taste. It was only until middle of high school, year 8, year 9, and then. Like I said, bought those albums, I think, in year 9, year 10. I can't remember when the school trip to London was, but I think until then, everyone was very vanilla.
See, I think I was year 6, year 7.
A bit younger.
So it was 2004, wasn't it, American Idiot that came out?
Yeah, and we started high school in 2005.
Yeah, so I remember going and buying that, so I got into that sort of thing...
A bit
earlier to jump down that route. But I remember there was another lad that lived behind me, and he was into his heavy metal music.
Oh, yeah.
And I remember him passing by, and I was wearing an American Idiot t-shirt, and all these other kids were just like wearing just plain clothes and stuff, and he was just like, that's a Green Day t-shirt. I'm like, yeah. And he was like, listen to this. And he took his earphones out, and he was listening to Motorhead.
Okay.
Like proper Motorhead, like loud Motorhead, and I was like, oh, I quite
Give
like
you
that.
tinnitus or whatever.
Exactly, yeah.
Tonight
Couldn't
is
hear
how you
anything
say it,
anyone
yeah.
else said all day. But yeah, it was a thing. But yeah, Green Day definitely be up there with my favourite artist. And I think all time, when anyone says, "Oh, who's your favourite artist?" Then you automatically put on the spot and you've got to think of one artist, and your favourite artist changes week to week, doesn't it?
Of course
There's always
it does.
a different album, there's a different artist that's released something, or you remember something from your childhood, going, "Oh, that's brilliant! Like I really, really love listening to that."
And nostalgia's so powerful.
Exactly, but when you put on the spot and goes, "Who's your favourite artist? Who's your favourite band?" and you've got to write it on paper to give it to someone, I think I would always go back to Green Day.
Yeah, mine's always a toss-up, and I feel like they said, depending on which day, it could always be a coin flip. Obviously, I've clearly put my Disturbed credentials forward for how much I love them, and I think they were my first favourite rock artists. You know, first band was like, this is me, this is a bit of me, this. I fancy, like, listen to these guys constantly. But then for me, it's one that we both hold close to our hearts, and it's Bullet for My Valentine after that.
Bullet for My Valentine, man. That's so good.
And we both have a vested interest in them, but we kind of overlap, don't we?
Yeah. So I remember you said that you bought the 2 CDs for a set on us, like 2 for 10 or whatever.
Yeah.
I remember I went into a place, I think it was the Music Zone or something like that. In
Okay.
Blackpool. It was one of the ones that was around for a bit and disappeared. But I went in there and my dad bought me 2. I think it was 2 for a £5, something like that. And one of them was the Warmness of the Soul EP by Avenged Sevenfold. And the other one was the Hand of Blood EP by Bullet for My Valentine, which is what they released before they released the Poison album, the first album. And yeah, from that I was listening to Hand of Blood, and it's just such a revolutionary moment in, that's like you, this is a bit of me, I quite like this, this is what I want to listen to. Exactly, this going forward. But yeah, I got into them through Hand of Blood, and then the Poison album I absolutely loved, and then Scream Aim Fire, and then got into them from that, and then that's it. I had those records, and they kept going on playing, repeating stuff like that. And then, as I got into more and more music, I less and less into Bullet. Still
as you diversified your choice and interest.
I wasn't buying the albums on release and listening to them cover to cover. But yeah, as you say, you were sort of.
Scream Aim Fire was my first real memory, and I think it actually came from. I think we could almost do a whole hours chat on this ourselves.
Yeah.
Guitar Hero 3.
Yeah, we should do a full episode, full podcast.
I think we might talk about more on a later date, but for me, I just started the interest in rock music, and the ability to play through that many songs of various levels of rock and various ages. You know, so I remember that was the first time I think I'd really heard Slipknot, Before I Forget is on Guitar Hero 3. You know, and then being able to go back into the back catalogue. But equally, you've got Kiss songs and.
It's really versatile.
I have a right mix on Guitar Hero 3. So I remember on Guitar Hero, either on Guitar Hero 3 or around that time, is Waking the Demon on Guitar Hero 3?
No, not unless it was a download.
No, but for me, my first Bullet for My Valentine song is my point, and like many other songs, my first taste. I remember watching the Waking the Demon video. Yeah. In the high school, and that kind of werewolf transformation.
It's the trip.
Yeah. And I remember that video, and from there, that was the first song I remember really, really enjoying and going and buying. And then again, just buying albums. Just go and buy that album, get it on the Xbox, download it, or eventually get it on iTunes to put it onto some form of MP3 player that I had at the time. But yeah, because obviously, just something about Bullet. Again, because they've got lead guitar, they've got rhythm guitar, like the solos. Sometimes the screaming can be a bit full on. And really quite hard to understand them, but just the power in his voice, that Matt has, and just the whole ensemble. And I feel like they hit a lot of cliches. Like they have obviously Tears Don't Fall. It has to rain inside a warehouse.
Oh yeah.
All good rock artists have an indoor raining video where you get the water off the cymbals and you get the close up of the drums.
Yeah, the slow motion.
Yeah. Lighting, all the kind of industrial lighting, not lighting that's built in and integrated. It's like just generators.
Yeah. That's it.
Because obviously you and I have been to Bullet 3 times? No? Twice?
3 or 4.
Yeah, 3 times. We've kind of travelled all over to see them. I've not done many gigs in my time, I must admit. I was lucky to live in Manchester for 3 years before being at uni, and that allowed me to see quite a lot of artists. But I suppose if we talk first gigs, and this became a running joke in our friendship group, didn't it?
Yeah.
My first actual gig, and God bless my mum for taking me, was Robbie Williams.
Bless you.
So that was my first taste of the gig experience, and it was at Birmingham, outdoors. And it was something, there's that energy, that intangible energy, and I remember at the time I hadn't quite developed my innate British sarcasm. Yeah, because I remember the announcer coming over the tannoy. Ladies and gentlemen, sorry to inform you, Robbie Williams is sick, unavailable tonight. Instead, we're gonna have they just mentioned some random bloke, some random name. And like,
Gary Barlow.
Yeah. Yeah, everyone would be disappointed with that. No, can you imagine the people I'm with? And like there's like murmurs of giggling, and I remember kind of like being a bit vertically challenged at all times, looking up at mum, kind of pulling on her arm, going, "Oh my God, that's just, we've travelled 2 hours to Birmingham." Probably felt like an age at the time. Like, and she's like, don't worry. But yeah, Robbie, I feel like he put on a show. I can't remember much more other than kind of the whole encapsulating experience, but the first real gig I have genuine memories of, and I was lucky at uni, and it was a weird one for me. It was Avenged, and like if you're gonna do your first like proper "this is the music I like" concert, I feel like I did all right.
Yeah, it's a good first rock intro.
At the MEN or whatever it's called now, Manchester Arena.
Yeah,
it's got
one of the names.
Sponsors changes. Yeah.
Depending on what generation you're in, depending
it's
on what
it's called. It's like
yeah.
same with football stadiums.
It's the MEN Arena.
Yeah.
What's the MEN Arena? That's the arena in Manchester.
Next to the train station. Anyway, it was a weird one for me because I remember buying the tickets for me and my flatmates, and I was actually more interested in the support act. So Five Finger Death Punch was supporting.
Yeah, I know you're a big Five Finger Death Punch fan, aren't you?
And definitely more a fan of them than Avenged, or particularly at the time. And like I said, your taste can wax and wane, can't they? But we're sat up in the gods, like students getting the cheapest tickets possible. So we're sat down, up in like nosebleeds. And I remember like the crowd was filtering in for the first act. I think they were called Avatar, they were called. Interesting, not necessarily my cup of tea. And I was a bit gutted because it was meant to be Device. And Device was a side project of David Draymond.
Right,
and one of the other members of Disturbed. I think the guitarist, if my memory serves, I probably should have done a bit more research.
Yeah,
so I just popped into it. So for me, it was almost a dream concert because Device only released one album. So it was meant to be Device, Five Finger Death Punch, Avenged Sevenfold.
So yeah, seeing David Draymond at a first gig.
Yeah, I was salivating because Disturbed hadn't really toured for a while, or not done a UK tour, and I've subsequently kind of missed them. I really probably aren't as good as a fan as I would say. But Avatar replaced them, they were alright, but Five Finger Death Punch, I remember going absolutely nuts. They've got a song under and over it, and there's just a lyric that ends with some profanity. And it's the kind of profanity, the classic microphone out to the crowd moment.
I mean, you can swear.
Well, of course.
It's going to be marked as explicit because
of course, but
as a comma. So.
Yeah, you do punctuate with swear words. So I don't know how many lyrics we can use without getting strict. That's what I wasn't sure.
Oh yeah, sure.
But I don't care if you hate me. I don't want to know the truth. C'est la vie. Adios. Good riddance. Fuck you.
Yeah.
Right, it's the lyric. I've probably butchered it a little bit there. But you can imagine Mike goes out to the crowd, doesn't he? So we're up in the gods, and not the whole crowd. It's not a full arena at this point. I felt a bit like sad on the behalf of Five Fingers. Like, why is everyone not here? That could be my innate OCD. Like, you need to be on time. Like, everyone should be there on time. Yeah. But I, next to two of my flatmates on one side, course mate on my left, get up out of my seat, give it absolutely rock all, scream my head off, and I remember sitting back down and the three lads kind of looking like, "Are you all right? Are you good, Dan?" And what an experience that was. And for when we were watching, to give it a time period for anyone that might eventually listen to this, it was Hail to the King was the tour.
Yes.
That's what Avenged were doing, and just the spectacle of a like they had a massive skull at the back, the artwork that's on the album. The winged skull, just spitting flames, and just even to be that far away, even with big side screens, how a handful of people can own. And people probably talked about concerts in a much more poetic, but yeah, for me I kind of count that as my first gig rather than Robbie Williams.
Sure.
But for me, because again it's a uni, so I've had a few years during high school and college to really develop my rock tastes. But yeah, bloody hell, what a concert that was.
Yeah, I can imagine. I would love Avenged on my list. I'd love to see Avenged live. And I'd love to do a full thing on them. I'd love to do a full thing on Bullet, and I'd love to do
probably
a full
will.
thing on Avenged, But sort of similar to you, my first gig was probably Busted or something like that. I got my dad to take me to see Busted in Manchester, and that was hell. So like getting the train down there and getting the train back, we nearly missed the last train, and we physically had to be pushed onto the train to fit into the carriage. Yeah. Well, you can't do that nowadays. But literally shut.
Depends what country you're in.
Depends what country you're in. But again, maybe don't class that as my first gig. I don't know if it was my first, but the one that I remember and the one I've got great memories of is my dad took me to see a punk band called UK Subs, which I used to sit in my bedroom with a computer and I used to be either on MSN Messenger. Again, you can figure out our age.
Yeah. So we don't tell anyone. I keep giving the time references.
Yeah, just keep giving people can guess our age.
We're high school at this point.
Exactly. On MSN Messenger or playing RuneScape or something on the computer, like a computer that can barely run the internet. And he gave me a UK Sub CD, and I remember just listening to it from like front to back and getting into it and listening to some of the songs on it. And they were playing. Is it the one in Preston? Is it 52 degrees? I think.
Yeah, 42.
42, 52.
Number.
An amount of degrees in Preston. And they were playing there, which it's like a bar / club.
It has a lot of up and come. I know.
It's not like a venue, like a proper venue. It's nice. It's great. I love it. It's really sort of small and sort of personal. And again, my only experience so far was seeing Busted at an arena tour where you're sat, like you say, 3 miles behind the band. You're watching them on a TV screen. There's people on stage. They might be the band, or it might just be someone holding a guitar and they're showing you footage
more than the stage.
Of Busted. And so we were in this bar, and there was a support band on, and the support band, I think they were Outlaw or something like that. They were a bunch of kids, but they were really good. And they finished, and then they went, all right, give it up for UK Subs. And the table next to us, everyone stood up and made their way to the stage. And it was the band were there. The band
sat next to you.
Exactly, yeah. And it was such a
surreal
experience, because obviously you picture concerts and venues and you see them on TV and
or come up by a lift
and stuff like
or
that.
behind a curtain.
Exactly. Yeah. Imagine trying to get close to like a rock star or something like like Disturbed. Imagine David Draymond just
at Spoons before the gig's having a pint.
You just don't meet these people, but. Yeah, they just got up on stage and it was so good. Like, it was because you were there and you were stood so close to the band and experiencing music that you'd only heard on a CD before. And I don't know, it was quite a moment. Again, they've been one of my dad's favourite bands for a long time as well. But yeah, it was a fantastic gig. And again, meeting the band after the gig as well is quite a bizarre experience. But yeah, definitely.
Was it like a mixed age range UK Subs at the time? Was it like how old are you exactly going in there? Like, did they have an age cap on the venue?
Maybe, but I got in.
You've always looked 32, to be fair.
So. I've always looked 32. Yeah. On that, I remember going to buy some beer at Tesco when I turned 18. Dead excited, just like, I have my
ID ready.
ID ready.
Not needed.
I gave my ID and just like, it's my birthday today. Oh, is it? Right. Are you only just 18 today? Yeah. I was like, I thought you were 18 for ages. I'm like, don't tell me that.
I could have been getting in.
Yeah, I could have been coming in and buying booze for the past 5 years.
Yeah, I think sometimes like that, it's confidence, and not that we're going to like put that forward. But I remember a few months back, we're in Hogarth in Blackpool. Well, 3 months. Jesus, it'll be a year plus now, vid. The
event.
The event. Don't talk about the event.
Don't mention the event.
Just to paraphrase Mitchell and Webb. And we're walking in, and one of our mates, like there's about 7 of us, and one of us got stopped at the back, Geely. And Geely pointed at me and went, does he not need to get ID'd? And the man went, trust me, if he needs ID, he's got a problem. Like, cheers, mate. I don't know if it's maybe the thinning hair on top or what, but I was like, maybe it's the wisdom. I'm going to go with the wisdom in my eyes. That's what it was.
Geely does look about 6, though.
Well, his beard game's away, but that's by the by. But it's, like, because surely UK Subs, I'm not too well read up on their level of punk, but was it the kind of thing like you keep your pint in your hands because someone's going to be knocking a table or chair? Was a lot of energy?
No.
Because obviously a more intimate venue, that's going to be like, because we've been to a couple at the Waterloo in Blackpool, much small rock venue that's wonderful. I feel like we should have been going a bit earlier, knowing what kind of a pub it is, and small kind of rock.
There was still the energy for it. People were still jumping around and enjoying the music and like there in the moment of it. It was still.
Because the minute you told me like they got up off the table, I was like, what? And when you told me that story, they got on the table, they threw the table. No, like, what level of punk were we talking?
Quite a level of the sort of well, again, they were getting on a bit probably when my dad got into them when he was a kid. So
yeah.
They're still going though. I'm going to go see them next year, but.
Rebellion.
So yeah, Rebellion. Rebellion Punk Festival. But yeah, man, they were. It was just a bizarre experience, a very bizarre experience. But again, it was one of those that were just like, oh yeah, this. I quite like my punk music, and again, we'll probably talk about influences from like fathers and stuff like that. But no, yeah, my dad was massively into his punk music, and that definitely rubbed off on me. I will get that correct.
Yeah, the third time's a charm.
But yeah, so seeing bands like that and like the ones that are still going as well, that started like UK Subs came out of the sort of one of the big first punk booms. It's great.
Yeah, I think for me, I always struggle with genres. I always think back to like the School of Rock film, and when Jack Black's giving them like a history of rock, and he has that pointer that has the two fingers up and all the different genres. I don't know if you recall the scene.
I can't recall.
It's like a montage where like they're practicing and he's teaching them about rock, and it just literally has this flow. Oh, not quite a flow diagram, more of like a spider diagram or mind map. And I've all. Well, yeah, rock and teaching is like the perfect film. Although I couldn't be a supplier teacher, they are absolute warriors. For like, shout out to them. But for me, I always struggle with genres. Like, how far do you categorize and keep categorizing and go further and further? Because I've always felt like, to me, punk. You're definitely. I bow to you for all things punk. I have a slight vested interest. Again, we share the fact that from my dad. I remember Dad had Clash albums in the car and a few other bits and pieces. The Clash are the main one. I can't think of too many artists off the top of my head now. But
he was into Fingers as well, wasn't he?
Yeah, Stiff Little Fingers. Yeah, so I remember hearing Alternative Ulster quite a bit in the car. He had like a live album. So it was weird. I remember my knowledge of the Stiff Little Fingers songs is more live than recorded. Yeah. Because he had this live album. God knows what album it was. So, but like, you know, singing it live, the speed, the cadence of their...
That's it.
You know, and so whenever I've heard their recording, I'm like, whoa. You're so much slower normally, or different, because I'm used to the live album.
Yeah, definitely, yeah.
And I think for me, probably my favourite genre, like, rock is so encompassing, isn't it? I always say metal, but what is metal?
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
It's, like you say, it's such a diverse genre. It covers everything, doesn't it? That's what I wanted this thing to be about. I want to explore the different avenues of rock music, and I'd like go back to where it started with like Chuck Berry and those kind of bands.
Well, I was going to say anything with rhythm and blues or country.
Yeah.
I must admit, I always like a bit of rock, coming from a lot of American eyes, where there's a bit of a country twang to it. I'm a sucker for a bit. I know you're pulling a face at me now, and I know it's not your kind of cup of tea. And I know you like bits and pieces. Like, I particularly love Blackstone Cherry.
Yeah.
And it has that kind of country vibe running through it, you know, like Shine Down.
Yeah.
You know, and some of these artists has got a bit more of that. Maybe it's just the accent, that part of America, that kind of those kind of regions. I say that part of America, like it's not one of the biggest countries on the planet. But, you know, that kind of region, those kind of accents.
They all came out of the same town, the same village.
Yeah, just one small place. Like, this is the, you know. But for me, yeah, I tend to go metal. What and I think anything, like when you say metal and then you can put the adjective heavy in front of it. Whenever we've, you know, played music at parties, at pre's, for each other, just in the car, whatever. The heavy is so subjective.
It is.
What I deem heavy compared to some of our mates, so you know, the students at school, family, our tolerances.
Yeah.
You know, so I always feel like if I ever want to like give someone the shock value and almost like prove that I'm into heavy, I'll play it and I'll bring them in. Pray for Plagues.
Yeah, early
Bring Me the Horizon. You know, or I used to the litmus test almost. I used to play Cries in Vain.
Yeah.
Because that just starts with pure shouting.
Yeah.
It's just, and then like if you can give it 20-30 seconds, it's quite a nice song. It's them just singing as normal, but it's so in your face to begin with. Like, is that heavy metal? To me, Bullet are just metal. I don't know what makes it heavy. I always consider maybe Slipknot a bit more heavier, but then they've got slower songs, beautiful, like, you know, and what Corey Taylor can do with his voice when he chooses to is just stupid.
Magnificent.
Like a magnificent creature. And like, the man's got a Christmas album. I think that just shows you his range. Like, he's got Christmas songs, but...
Yeah, I was put up a little thing. I was watching videos on my phone. You know, you use video goes to video.
Yeah.
And it was Slipknot. It was a little quotation. Slipknot, isn't that the band where they all dress as clowns and scream into microphones? And the video was Corey Taylor doing the SpongeBob SquarePants theme to an audience. And it's fun. I'll show you the video later. You can find it on YouTube.
I'm sure I could.
It's fantastic.
I think that's everything I want it.
Yeah,
I think that's everything I need it to be.
And it's so good. And it's just such a flip on the head. But no, I'm exactly the same as you. You've got so many different variations to what people perceive as heavy and perceive as metal. It's like AC/DC would probably be one of the biggest rock bands in the world.
Yeah.
And I like AC/DC and I bought some of their stuff, but to me, when AC/DC got introduced to me, I was listening to Slipknot. So AC/DC were too tame. AC/DC
in comparison,
kind of, there wasn't enough grit to it. And like listening to it now, there is. I can appreciate it, but yeah, it depends where you're at on the spectrum.
And maybe where you're entered into it. Yeah, because I remember doing a project in music at school with an old friend of ours, Chris Bedford.
Yeah.
And he kind of led the charge. I was kind of the just computer nerd putting it all together. But he was using like Windows Movie Maker, and we had to talk about artists we like. And I was only just getting into rock at the time, so I kind of just bowed to Chris. And we had things like, we had Bring Me the Horizon, but it was the earlier stuff, nothing like they're putting out now, which is still absolutely awesome. Like, continue to just amaze me.
They're very good now, but they're on Radio 1, and it's like their early stuff wasn't on Radio 1.
No, and like I always remember my early listening of rock before I really understood a range of artists and a range of types. I felt like I had to be a certain mood, or doing certain activities,
definitely.
doing something in particular to listen to that early Bring Me the Horizon stuff. But there was them. I think we put them on the video and A Day to Remember.
Yeah.
And they can have some, really quite, intense bits. So like, it depends where's your entry level into rock. Because like if you're exposed to punk, it's still the same kind of energy in a way, but it's not. It doesn't come through the vocals, does it?
No.
And I think that's where it's the growling, the snarling, the screaming. Because I think we always both used to get wound up incessantly with the word screamo. That phrase. Like, yes, there are many types of songs and artists that fits to, but Count Your Blessings, Suicide Season. Like, you used to compare him to a broken espresso machine, didn't you? Like, his throat kind of scratchy sound to it, but
this is what the edge of your seat was made for. Was I think the first thing I had by Bring Me the Horizon, and that it was very like a lot like Vegas and really kind of growly.
I remember Pray for Plagues, a lot like Vegas. Not many more off that, and then from that I also remember things like the Come Down.
Yeah, that's Suicide Season.
That's Suicide Season, but the Come Down, things like that. Chelsea Smile. It's Written in Blood. Football Season. Sleep with One Eye. I remember that one a bit better. I could probably look at Spotify on my phone to help me if I needed it now. But when that's your entry level, you compare that to Bring Me Now, and it's still awesome. Like Sempiternal was almost the soundtrack to University. Like,
see, I got into Sempiternal late on. Like I'd kind of left Bring Me the Horizon for a bit, and then came back and went to Sempiternal. Like, oh, this is amazing. Like, this is a good album.
Yeah. Well, since this is one of the first things we're recording, and we're talking about a lot of firsts, and I think a recurring thing for both of us that holds a special place in our hearts, but for me, because I was there a bit more often, Satan's in Manchester.
See, I've only done it twice.
Yeah, I think because you came a fair few times to uni, but I took you to a range of places because I only discovered it in my second year. But yeah, Satan's Hollow, like, I can't wait for that to reopen again. Can't wait to visit Manchester. It's the only, like, I get itchy, like, are we going?
Yeah.
And I'm almost getting people drunk enough that they tolerate, like, you're looking at some friends going, this isn't going to be your cup of tea, this. Have another vodka. I'll get you a gin. You need to be
a point where you'll just enjoy sounds.
Yeah.
Once you just enjoy sounds,
just bass.
You'll be fine.
I just, literally, I need this as a social lubricant. I need you lubed up and ready for Satan, which is a sentence I never thought I'd say.
I'm going to lube you up and push you into Satan.
Yeah. And, some of the people I've met there has just been absolutely fantastic. But yeah, I think you always called yourself a dirty mosher growing up.
Yeah, that's it, a dirty mosher.
I think I was always a mosher on the inside. I've never had the hair to really mosh properly. Love a mosh pit. I feel like I always dive into them more than you have.
Yeah.
Historically, but yeah, nod to the rock, nod to my geography interests. But yeah, so I suppose I definitely look at more power ballads as well. I love a good sing song
I was on about this with a friend as well. What age do you get to where it's socially acceptable to like Meatloaf?
For me, like, I throw back to one of our early conversations, one of like early music memories. My dad had a massive CD collection through just collecting music. He used to DJ at clubs and social events, working men's clubs and all that kind of stuff. So collecting music was a big thing for him. We've got like 3 towers in the front room of just all sorts. It could go from Wet 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 to UB40 to all sorts, absolute all sorts of stuff. But he had a Meatloaf compilation. I think it was called Hits Out of Hell or something.
Sounds about right.
And he gave me this CD because I got a CD player, 3-disc CD player. Like, I thought it was the absolute dogs. Massive speakers either side of it. It took up half like my work.
It took 3 men to bring it in.
Yeah, I had to take the roof off and lift it down. The window out. Yeah. No, it was brilliant. But for me, I'd like whenever I was just doing homework. I know it's a strange concept to you. Or reading a book or something. Like I remember reading a couple of series by Anthony Horowitz and Owen Cole for that kind of young adult teen fiction and what have you. I feel like I couldn't read that book without listening to like Bat Out of Hell, Paradise by the Dashboard Light, Midnight the Lost and Found, 2 Out of 3 Ain't Bad. So for me, if that's one of those artists that you pretend not to like or it's not cool to like not quite music snobbery, I don't think is the right word, but a sheltered like enjoyment. For me, since I was about 9 or 10, I reckon my enjoyment, because you don't tell me I would do anything for Love Comes On and I'm not going to try and belt it out, like, and almost disappointed when the radio version of Bat Out of Hell is put on. I want the full 18
hours
minute experience. I don't want your 3.5 minute radio like butchered version. But yeah, I suppose there are those artists or those kind of songs either you're trying to protect your own self-image or you feel like it's not cool, you don't want to admit it, you want to get absolutely...
I think that was it with me. Because I still do it now. If someone goes, oh, Meatloaf, I go, oh, no. But it's that, I think, because probably my parents didn't like it or listen to it. And they probably had the same reaction if that ever come on the radio. Like, oh, no. But... yeah, like Bat Out of Hell and stuff like that. It is quite. Yeah, I'll listen to this.
Because we've both on the same thing. We've both quoted that Dara O'Brien sketch about music snobbery. You know, those are the wrong sounds.
Exactly. Yeah.
I know not every bit of music can be everyone's cup of tea, but I think it's like, well, you don't have to actively dislike it. You don't have to. For some people, disliking certain songs and artists becomes almost like a personality trait. And it's like, okay, right, we get it, you don't like them, but you don't have to put that vitriol or that negativity,
that hatred. Like, it's there if someone says I don't like Coldplay. No one says I don't like Coldplay. If you don't like Coldplay, you hate Coldplay.
Yeah. And I must admit, I feel like I had that.
Yeah.
High school and college, like it almost became fun to try and take the piss out of certain artists, and then subsequently people for liking those artists, then judging them as a person, or not want to be as friendly with them because you don't like this or you like that. And you know, and I think some songs require a certain blood alcohol level. You know, like you don't tell me that everyone's gonna be up and excited if they hear the YMCA or something. But
Sweet Caroline after a few drinks.
Oh, so I don't think you need like just one taste. Yeah, one sip of the first pint, and I'll give you the bums all day long. But yeah, I suppose the cheesier pop, the cheesier rock, the power ballads, whatever that might be, I suppose. You do want to say, no, I don't like that. Or like you're tapping your foot under the table secretly and you're bobbing along.
But yeah, on the rocks, sort of that music snobbery kind of thing. And I know I can be really bad for it. And you're allowed to, and it's getting into my head and I know it and I try and live by this now. It's okay to like something and not be obsessed with it. And it's okay to have, and I quite enjoy that.
A casual
interest. Exactly, I quite like that band, or I quite like that song, and I quite like that. Without knowing everything.
Every album, the release date.
You're not a true fan. You don't know the thing they did 17 years before they were in the band with this guy, and it's like... You
can't name all the members, because I'm crap.
Exactly.
Naming members of bands.
Because again, we're both competitive. You more so, but...
I am very competitive. Yeah,
it's that thing. It's like, no, you're not. You don't like him. You're not a fan. You don't have this. You don't have every album. And it's like someone mentioned to me the other day they liked an artist, and I went, oh well, I quite like that album they did, and that album was okay, but I didn't like that. And they were like, oh no, I mean I like this song by them. I don't really. And I'm like, oh that's okay. You can do that.
But in the past, you would have jumped down the throat or put them down.
Yeah.
Like I think I still live by to a point, and I usually probably find defending myself when I have a conversation with you. The 3-song rule. So do you remember whenever we'd see people and like Primani or whoever were like selling Stones or Guns N' Roses t-shirts and like because didn't you serve someone once at a shop you were working at the time and they were wearing a Guns N' Roses t-shirt or a Rolling Stones t-shirt, I can't remember who it was, for love or Metallica or someone going, Metallica love them, like Metallica aren't a band or something. They said something along those lines.
It's a story I like going back to that. It was I was skating. Because I used to skateboard back when I didn't discover beer and get fat. And I was at the bandstand in the local park, and there was a girl there wearing a Guns N' Roses t-shirt. It was Guns N' Roses. And I went, oh, I quite like Guns N' Roses. So I was like, what's your favourite song? And again, even then, I was kind of like, I'm trying to have a conversation with this person.
Almost like the guy that
I'm not saying it to
put the Motorhead.
Exactly, exactly. Yeah. Try and common ground, try and talk to her. I'm like, even before I asked it, I'm like, she's going to say Sweet Child of Mine. Because everyone, Guns N' Roses, oh yeah, Sweet Child of Mine.
It's not one of their biggest hits, one of the biggest hits for a reason.
It's one of the best, it's an amazing song. I'm not hating it at all, but...
you weren't going to count her as a true fan unless you went something beyond that.
But even if she said that, I would have been, oh yeah, Sweet Child of Mine, yeah, I quite enjoy that. It's a good album. So I kind of just start a conversation with her. So I said, oh, what's your favourite Guns N' Roses song? What are you into? And she was like, oh, is it a band? And
that triggered you.
It just fell, and it was just like, you're wearing a Guns N' Roses t-shirt without the knowledge that it's a band.
You just think it looks cool.
You just think the design looks cool. The design does look very cool.
Was it the Appetite for Destruction? Was it the cross with their faces?
It was the circle. It was the Guns N' Roses with
the revolvers.
The revolvers. And it is a really cool t-shirt, but it's that there's a music snobbery, and then you can go under that. And even, I think, a point below that would annoy you. Like, they don't know it's a band, never mind.
Well, that's just pop culture. That's a lack of awareness.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, the parents are at fault there, surely. Like,
The
I should have gone,
upbringing.
do you mind showing me where... No, that'd be a bit weird. Do you mind showing me where you live?
Hello, stranger on the park. Maybe ring them. Give your mum and dad a bell. Get them on the phone.
I should say, well, like, she was my age. Like, we were the same. I was a kid and she was a kid. I wasn't just going up to people in the park going, name me songs by Guns N' Roses. Like, that's not how I live my life. But anymore, not since the event that we don't talk. But yeah, it's again, it's such a cultural thing, isn't it? And like how you brought up massively influences what you listen to and what you have tastes in and things like that. But
like I said, that kind of you're wearing X on your top. Name me 3 songs. I often find myself probably almost maybe it's more subconscious than I realise. Making very careful in my choice of words to say I love or like, whatever scale on my descriptive words I'm using of an artist, if I can't name multiple songs. You know, sometimes it might just be like it's a band you have in multiple playlists on whatever streaming service you might like, and sometimes because it's, you know, you're just listening to it whilst you're out and about, reading, jogging, you know, in the kitchen, whatever, you might realise you know that song but you cannot name it.
Yeah.
You know, it's like we were in the car earlier today and I realised that there's not a Billy Talent song I don't like, but I can only name about 3. Yeah. I am on the limit of my own self-imposed rule of I can probably only say I just like Billy Talent because I can't name any more.
Yeah.
Whereas you give me a bit more time on the outside, say I love, I reckon, well, Meatloaf earlier, I think I read off 5 songs without even really thinking about it. And it's that.
And they're long titles as well. That's quite a good. Like, they're not just like yellow.
I think he started the Fallout Boy's idea of I'm going to write an essay for this song title.
Yeah, that's it. Oh, Manic Street Preachers are pretty good for that.
Yeah. I can't really think of does anyone else really love. I think the odd artist has a long title, like Panic, the odd one.
Yeah.
Panic. Like Lying is the most fun a girl can. And you never finish that, do you? You never say
Lying is the most fun. Yeah, that one. Yeah.
Yeah, I know the one you're on about. You know, Harlequin Boys and all that.
Or like Buzzcocks with Ever Fallen in Love. It's ever fallen in love with someone you shouldn't have fallen in love with.
It goes on and on, doesn't it? But yeah, that's pretty cool, isn't it?
Yeah. So yeah, that's the first show. Thanks for listening. If you enjoyed it, say hello to us. We're at gemsofrock@gmail.com or just Gems of Rock on Facebook. But yeah, thank you very much and we'll speak to you soon.